Last time we met Keith, he showed us his incredible yellow submarine build. And today we're about to see a beautiful colonial style tiny house that has amazingly been built for only $8,000. G'day Keith, great to see you again, mate.
Hi Bryce, good to catch up.
And to see yet another one of your incredible creations.
Thanks for being here.
So this tiny house you've called the Colonial Cottage. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Indeed, yes. I guess my wife Jen was the early inspiration where she suggested I needed a project.
This tiny house came about because we needed a little bit more room. So I said, why don't you build something outside and we could have coffee in it now and again. And he said, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So he found this building in a swamp and pulled it out and has resurrected it from that.
And can you tell me what it was that first made you fall in love with the idea of a tiny house?
I've always liked the cosy, enveloping feel of it. They feel like a cocoon, and I've always thought it'd be really good to have that essence. So that's where it started. And we had a flood through about 5 years ago, and it wiped out all the trees, and we ended up for waterfront property, not the way we were planning to get a waterfront property. So I needed a project for a bit of positivity back in my life. And not having any money, I spent time to make this rather than spend money. So that's why it took a year just scrounging old bits and pieces lying around.
Because remarkably, you actually built this tiny house for only $8,000, didn't you?
Again, yeah, it's probably my Scottish heritage, but I don't like to pay for anything if I can possibly avoid it. So everything's basically been recycled and scrounged, yes.
And this tiny house sits on a trailer, doesn't it?
Indeed, yes, it wasn't meant to. My brother offered it to me. It was in the farm dump, so that got recycled from the farm dump. That's why it's a high trail. It's about 1 metre, 3 feet off the ground.
And what size is the house?
It's 5 metres by 3 metres, which is 16 feet by 9 foot 8.
Brilliant. And looking at this house, you can really see the eclectic use of materials that's gone into its construction. Can you talk to me about some of the elements we can see here?
Yeah, this is native timber. It's totara, which can be left outside for 100 years or more and it still won't rot. It weathers very well. It was used for fence posts 100 years ago. So this was just scrounged from an old shed basically and completely ripped to pieces and redone.
And I love the roofing iron that you've used as well. It just adds so much character.
Yeah, that would be recycled from over 120 years ago. Schoolhouse windows recycled, everything's recycled. These bits are off an old bridge, these old slabs.
And I love the style that you've created here. You really have encapsulated that colonial feel, haven't you?
Yeah, I wanted the stark colonial like 100 years ago because there's lots of old bits inside that come from that era.
And I see you're flying the United Tribes flag here. Can you tell me about that?
Indeed, well that was basically our earliest colonial flag, so it seemed like a pretty good match for something near the same age.
And can you talk to me a little bit about the process of building this house? Because obviously, having constructed everything from reclaimed materials, there's a lot of work that goes into restoring those to get them ready to go into a house, isn't there?
Yeah, I guess a lot of it was just stripping it down, water blasting, getting rid of all the rotten boards and just starting from scratch really. Very therapeutic process. I didn't know what I was doing, so it was just learn as you go really. Much of what I learnt off your earlier YouTube videos, thank you.
Oh great, very cool. Good that they were useful. Well, I absolutely love the look of the house from the outside and I cannot wait to see what you've done inside. Should we check it out?
Let's have a look.
Let's do it. This is absolutely beautiful. In this house, you really can see that you have gone all out on that early turn of the century colonial feel, haven't you?
Yeah, I was thinking earlier on that it's really good to have a theme and stick to it, so I've been quite methodical in doing that.
Brilliant. The ceiling is definitely a little bit lower in this one.
Yes, but it's built for my height.
Perfect. And talk to me a little bit about how you've created the kitchen here, because it looks like you've recycled some bits and bobs to make all of this come together.
Yeah, it's just cobbled together old rubbish, basically.
But it looks beautiful and it's all worked out really well. What's the timber used here on the bench top?
That's a native Remu in this case.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, and everything here was recycled. That was $30 on the local Trade Me site. eBay imported, that's probably about $30 for that fitting there.
Great.
Yeah, and of course, yes, we've got stuff that's been donated to us by our respective parents and friends.
Lovely. Because especially when you are putting together a project which is using 100% recycled and reclaimed materials, creating a coherent theme like this is a bit of a challenge, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah. And keeping with the old thing too, nothing is quite straight, level, square or plumb.
And I'm sure that was done on purpose, right?
Absolutely, yes. The other reason I didn't have the proper tools, it was all hand tools, no modern battery equipment.
Wow. That is really quite a remarkable achievement to have constructed like that.
Yeah, I was just being stingy, really.
Now, let's talk about this floor because it is impossible to ignore and absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, that was, again, the native timber tocha in this case, and it was all just scraped back. It had all the grime taken away, and it was laid down one piece at a time, and we put 3 coats of linseed oil, waited for that to dry, then put polyurethane on top, and it's really given it depth.
Beautiful. And then I see behind us here we've got the bathroom. Can we take a peek in there?
Sure, this is off an old wool shed.
This door?
Yes.
Wow, gorgeous. You can even see you've got the borer holes in there, just to add a little bit of character.
Indeed, yes, and the spring latches here, they're off wool shed sheet pans.
Very clever use of those. And should we take a peek inside?
Sure.
Oh, this is absolutely charming. And you can see here there's the other half of the suitcase from the submarine.
Indeed, we don't waste anything.
Such a clever idea using that as the shower.
Yeah, that was just being thrifty.
And then you've used the old corrugate there to line the shower?
That was the cheapest way we could do it at the time, yes.
Yeah, brilliant. Flushing toilet?
Yeah, that goes to an old 200-litre plastic drum holding tank, then it gravity feeds back about 100 metres or so to our septic tank system.
And what are you doing for water here?
2 feeds, rainwater for drinking in the taps and artesian water for the toilet.
And the bathroom really does just have such a nice, cosy feeling to it, doesn't it?
It was the smallest I could make it. Basically, there's no room to swing a cat, but I mean, you've got the rest of the tiny house to get changed in.
Exactly. And how long do you spend in the bathroom anyway?
Exactly.
And then I see over here you've got a nice little fold-down table as well.
Yes, indeed. Again, about sharing space. And I don't like anything that takes too long to change. Like if it takes more than 3 seconds to change the format, that's too long.
I like that thinking. I like the little mechanism that you've used for that as well. It's so simple, but works great.
Homemade, couldn't afford a proper one.
And I see over here you've got this lovely wood stove as well.
Yeah, that's another Trade Me buy, second-hand. It was sitting in someone's garage for about 40 years, so we restored it and popped it in here.
Certainly adds a lot of character to the space, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the old kettle was donated by my father. He used to use it when he was sharing to make cups of tea.
Brilliant. I love how you've got that little bit of history in the house as well.
Yeah, it was fun to incorporate bits and pieces from our family.
And then tell me about the lounge here.
Yeah, the couch was sitting in an old wool shed for about 50 years, and I thought, well, we need overflow beds. So this couch was actually designed to fold down as a bed, so it's basically overflow bedding. And of course, every tiny house must have a comfortable couch.
I completely agree. That radio definitely looks like it's got a bit of history.
Yeah, that's from Jen's dad, Stan. That's 1938 valve radio. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. And then lots of space for books over here?
Yes, we've got all the books in the corner, including your first Living Big in a Tiny House publication.
Ah, very cool. Lovely to see it there on the shelf. And you've even got a little Living Big in a Tiny House sign up here. That's cool.
Well, as I said earlier, you've been an inspiration to, I think, every tiny house builder. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm honoured to see it up there. And then talk to me about this space here, because this is really interesting.
Yeah, well, we've basically got the office space, if you like, which is behind the toilet cistern. And the fridge, I must admit, was an afterthought because it was never meant to have a fridge, so that was overflow from the kitchen. This is an old Ericsson telephone, which I've restored. Being an ex-radio tech, it was no problem. And
Brilliant.
my Nana's transistor radio, 8 transistors, 1964, one of the early ones.
Adding all of these little treasures to the house really does help to make it feel as though when you're in here, you have been almost transported back in time.
Everything in here is analog, there's nothing digital at all, and it was quite hard to achieve that.
Yeah. And especially having this place run as a B&B, all of this ambience, it must just give people a real feeling of retreat from the world outside to sort of come here and feel like they are in a little colonial cottage.
Yeah, people do comment on the cozy cocoon feel and just going back in time, no internet or phone. Even on a bad day, they just light the fire, read a book and look out the window at the greenery.
Yeah.
Very soothing, relaxing.
And then up here we've got the sleeping loft, and this definitely looks like a really cozy space that you've created up here.
Yes, indeed it is, and with the fire below, it doesn't take very long before the heat migrates to the ceiling, so very cozy.
Great to see you've even included the little portlight window there. That's a very cute addition.
Every tiny house should have a porthole window somewhere.
I completely agree. And of course the skylight, another tiny house loft necessity.
Yeah, that was scrounged together from a dump. I didn't have the flashings for it, so it took quite a while to redo that to make it all fit. But yeah, I'd love to be able to do it again and have 3 or 4 skylights in the space upstairs, but that was what we had at the time. There's a dropped landing here because there's not much headspace.
That's a nice idea. So with this house, you've obviously been incredibly thrifty with your sourcing of materials, and accomplishing a build like this for $8,000 is absolutely remarkable, especially here in New Zealand. Can you talk to me a little bit about how this was actually possible?
For me, it was just having bits lying around everywhere in a farm shed that I was able to recycle. Like I've been very lucky to be able to reuse old stuff and make it work for me. I mean, I've even reused old paint. Yeah, and of course I'm able to do my own wiring and plumbing and everything, so I didn't need any tradesmen, so that helped a lot. And basically it would be 95% recycled stuff, so that was a biggie.
So a lot of your B&B guests who do come here to stay with you, these are people who are interested in the tiny house movement and thinking of building themselves. And it must be so inspiring for them to come here and see all of this reuse and upcycling of materials.
Yeah, a lot of the comments we get is, I've been thinking of building or buying a tiny house, but I really need to experience walking around in the space and spend one night here, get the feel of it. You actually realise that you can actually get most of your living accomplished in a small space. And of course you've got a deck outside which doubles the area. And it's really just getting the feel of it. You know, it's a really good idea to try one out. So we haven't used it much apart from just coming up here and having a coffee or reading a book on a sunny day or sitting in the hammock. But for us, the special part is just sharing it with people from all around the world. Initially I was looking forward to the destination, but what I found most was I actually enjoyed the journey, just doing it yourself. It was just great seeing the patina of old stuff come to life as it was all recycled up, whether it was just a floorboard or an old telephone or an old radio or a hinge or a light fitting or an old teapot. And it's just been great to be able to incorporate it in one tiny space.
It opened your eyes as to what you can actually do with something that looks impossible. But you give yourself time and plenty of patience. And it's amazing what you can create out of something that really a lot of people would put in the rubbish dump.
Well, Keith, this really is such a special place that you've created here. I love all of your use of materials and all of the history that you've included in this home. It really does just transport you to another time. Thank you so much for sharing it with me.
Bryce, thank you.
Keith really has done such a brilliant job on this tiny house, and it really is hard to believe that all of this has been accomplished for only $8,000. It's so inspiring to see what we can create from these old but beautiful materials that are just packed full of history, and this is such a great example of that.